Hello fellow humans and welcome to the Madhouse. I'm Josh and today I'm going to be doing a review of Just Juliet, an LGBT plus YA romance novel by Charlotte Reagan. Before we start, I will apologise if my voice is a bit shaky and goes up and down a bit because I've been losing it for a while, and then last night I did karaoke and was shouting, and let's just say I'm surprised I can talk this well this morning. That's what honey and hot lemonade do for you at 4 o'clock in the morning. It works wonders, especially with a sprinkling of cinnamon in it. Kind of tastes foul, but there is nothing better for your throat. Anyway, onto the book. I feel in the interest of openness I should tell you that I was sent the book for review by the publishers, but that this will not influence my opinion in the slightest. If I hated it, I would tell you. But thankfully I don't need to, because I actually really liked it. I'm not a big fan of the romance genre at all, although I've started finding examples of it that I do like recently, so perhaps I should rethink my position on it somewhat. The book stars someone whose name I'm assuming is pronounced Lena, although it could be Lena, that's a weird name. But Lena is an Hispanic girl in the US, coming to terms with her bisexuality over the course of a single year. And she does this mainly through a budding romance with Juliet. Now, from the name you may assume that this book has parallels to Romeo and Juliet, but thus I've heard nothing about two great houses both alike in dignity. Nothing to do with Verona. A little bit to do with interesting costumes, I grant you. But no murdering each other because you're hated by the family. In fact, there's one family in it, the James family from which Juliet comes, which I absolutely adore, and I think it may now be my second favourite fictional family after the Weasleys. So you can tell how much I love them, just dearly. Mr. James is just so kind and accepting, and he takes in pretty much anybody. The family itself is very diverse and interesting. Juliet is a lesbian. Her mother passed away, so through this we get to learn about grief of dealing with loved ones. Her cousin Lakin, who was taken in by Mr. James, is very gay, and so his boyfriend Scott. Lakin and Scott provide two things which may not seem to go together but actually do it exceptionally well. Both of their parents reacted rather badly to their coming out process, though Lakin's reacted far worse. Scott's were just disapproving and a little bit annoyed, well, very annoyed actually, but not so bad as Lakin's, who kicked him out, and let's just say they don't have any contact with each other again. And Lakin then went through some serious mental health issues, which I understand. I mean, I'm not going through them much right now, but I had fairly recently, and not because my parents didn't accept me, they do, it's wonderful, but I can understand where it comes from. They are the sweetest and funniest and most lovely couple I've seen. In fact, I'm very jealous because I'm quite single and I hate them entirely, but I love them too much to actually hate them properly. Lakin and Juliet become more like brother and sister than cousins, and the relationship they all have is just so very close, so much so that Lena, she stays with them pretty much all the time anyway, even before there's a relationship budding between Lena and Juliet, because they're just so welcoming and I adore them. I can't put it into words how they made me feel. Take the feelings away, please. Happiness is disgusting, make it stop. I jest, of course, I do love it dearly. The plot itself is fairly unremarkable. It's the characters that provide the real draw. Each and every one of them is fully rounded and fleshed out. Even the one that you think at the beginning is just going to be the rather plain, bland cheerleader type character who we often see in American films turns out to be interesting and nuanced in ways I couldn't have imagined, and I adore it. Its exploration of LGBT plus themes, though I admit the trans exploration is rather limited. It is there, but only slightly. And I feel this is because Reagan didn't necessarily want to write about something which she could misrepresent because she'd never experienced it. And it would probably be more appropriate for a member of the trans community to write the book that normalizes this for a generation, if that makes sense. After all, no one can tell that story better than someone who's lived it. That's what the book does for gay people and bi people. Simply put, while gay people are in the public arena in many aspects nowadays, and people do know about them, it's not really treated as normal. It's always something slightly different, something special to be admired or to be scorned, and neither of those are the case. It simply needs to be shown as normal. A normal couple doing normal things. The book itself is racially and sexually diverse and does not judge anybody for their sexual proclivities, orientations and practices. But of course the practices are not mentioned in detail because it is a YA book, which means I think it's meant mostly for ages 13 up. And up can be, well, any age really. Lastly, to sum up my opinions of this book, I enjoyed it far more than I expected to. I already expected to enjoy it somewhat because it's a book about bisexual characters, which is one I have rarely have encountered. Let's face it, the bisexual literary canon is somewhat limited because few characters ever explicitly mention that they are. It's always implied through subtlety. The fact that this was a book about the exploration of bisexuality and coming to terms with it, as well as just dealing with being gay, lesbian, whatever, was excellent. The writing style was simple but rather expressive and even poetic at times, and I reckon any of you who have enjoyed Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, or Golden Boy by the name I can never remember how to say, so I'm going to put it there, I think you will enjoy it immensely. I would give this 4 out of 5 stars, just missing out on the 5th star simply because of my lack of understanding of context of American high schools. But if you went to an American high school, or you happen to really enjoy the American high school genre of films and books anyway, then you will adore this.